My name is Fred Karger. I ran for president as the first openly gay major party candidate in history in 2012. I certainly knew my campaign was historic. I felt it was time, a very different time too 8 years ago.
I'm pro-choice, support gay marriage, and I want our troops out of Afghanistan now. Sound like a Democrat? I'm not. I'm more like the Republican Party I grew up with.
You know, any self-respecting candidate for president has to have his memoirs out. So I worked with an old friend. We wrote a very, very good memoir on my life. It was a pretty mediocre field 8 years ago. Mitt Romney ended up being the nominee. And it was tough. I ran against all odds. I ran 8 years ago in a very different time in our country. There was no same-sex marriage. We still had don't ask, don't tell on the books. And so I also ran in a Republican Party that was pretty hostile to the LGBT community. One of the reasons I ran was to try and change that. But when I met Pete, it was a defining moment for me because suddenly I could feel very excited about a candidate who was kind of, as he said, following in my path. This is from his book, Shortest Way Home, for Fred Karger, a trailblazer who made it a little easier for those who follow in your path, Pete Buttigieg. This was February of 2019. So it meant a lot to me. And we continue that in emails and letters, and every time I saw him, he was always very gracious. It was a pretty meaningful exchange because I say it's kind of passing the baton to the next candidate, and I think he got that too. And it's a generational thing, as well as different parties. But I think we came together to support a great cause. I certainly researched Pete and his issues before I'd endorsed him, but he's a moderate just like I am. And he has that ability to get along with members of both parties, which I'm very proud that I did too. I've supported a lot more Democrats than I certainly have Republicans. And I think that's what's needed in this country, particularly after the divisiveness we've had over the last 3.5 years. I was honored that he recognized me. I was thrilled that a successor to my historic campaign was going to go as far as he did. I discovered early on when I was running in New Hampshire particularly, and I'd introduce myself, they'd go, "Fred who?" And so I picked up that moniker. We gave away tens of thousands of Frisbees, part of the Fred who theme, and wanted to have another leave behind for people. So this is what I wore every day during the campaign. And then we gave away these great Fred who notepads. We sent direct mail. Very unlimited budget, but we had very slick, professional-looking direct mail. And then when we did these weekend Saturday precinct walks, we always did it with a bagpiper. Door-to-door campaigning is very difficult, and people will not answer their doors. And so you don't even have to go to the doors on a Saturday morning when you walk down a street and people will come flock to you. And so it's very successful. We used bagpipers everywhere we went. Great Fred Who stickers that were very popular. We competed on 6 ballots, starting in New Hampshire, including my home state of California. We got a lot of attention. I campaigned in all 6 of those states. I ended up getting more votes in New Hampshire, where I'd spent a lot of time, than Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann, who had raised $40 million, was in all the debates. We spent a week in Puerto Rico before that primary. I got tremendous endorsements, a lot of attention there. I ended up beating Congressman Ron Paul. We made over 20 commercials, which many were kind of YouTube sensations. We kind of made them a little different. Sexy Frisbee we did for California about our great Frisbee giveaway, which turned into a viral video after YouTube pulled it. Why? Because there was a kiss at the end between 2 good friends of mine who were a couple. First gay kiss to ever be in a presidential campaign commercial.
I'm Fred Karger, and I approve this message.
But everybody's curious about the commercials, and so we did. That's where I spent good money on commercials. I wanted them very professional, very slick, and very fun and entertaining. It's even hard to put into words the significance of what Pete Buttigieg has done for our community, for the LGBTQ community. When I ran, it was to send a message to younger people particularly. There are no limits. You can do anything you want to do in life. You can even run for president of the United States. And so Pete took that to the moon. So to have Pete Buttigieg on that debate stage from the very first debate, to see him up there on that second night, the pride and the impact of that was something I will never ever forget. And I know that impact was felt throughout the world and will change a lot of lives. I understand that the campaign suspension was inevitable after the South Carolina results. So a lot of us who believed in him and we will continue to. When I was running 8 years ago, Jimmy Carter was interviewed on Think Big, which was a pretty hot online program at the time, and he said yes, he thought within his lifetime there'd be an openly gay president, and he had no problem with it. I think that America is ready, and certainly with a candidate as spectacular as Pete Buttigieg out there. You saw the polling numbers, you saw him win in Iowa, a very conservative state, in just about every area and county in the state. So yes, America is very ready for an openly gay president and first gentleman.